Good morning everyone, welcome to this week's garden update. I'm sitting here underneath one of our camellia trees which is in bloom at the moment. I'm really enjoying these beautiful petals which I'm surrounded by. Well, let's get into this week's video. I've got a few things going on. I'm going to make some purple carrot muffins. We'll take a look at how I've had to adapt my method of saving seeds because this rain has been relentless and I haven't been able to dry them on the plant, so I've had to switch things up a little bit. I'm going to show you one of my crop fails. I've had a few this year, but I don't want to pack them all into one video, so we'll gradually go through them over the coming months. And then finally, I want to show you a few new plants I've purchased, which were quite heavily discounted, the ones that I prefer the most, where I don't have to pay full price. Anyway, let's go get into it now. It's raining again, another day, another downpour. Great for all of the plants, but not so good for the garden task of saving seeds, which I like to do when these seed heads have been drying out on the plant for a few days. But as you can see with this one here, they are absolutely saturated. Attempting to remove the seeds when the seed heads are this wet can be very tricky and certainly very time consuming. Some more so than others. Like, look at this one here, it's a dahlia seed head and I could just feel it, it's real squishy, and trying to divide up or remove the seeds from this will take me a lot longer when it's super wet. It's really important to make sure your seeds are completely dry before you store them for the next growing season, because I'm telling you, any bit of moisture on those seeds can harbour mould, and if mould appears, it's pretty much game over for what you've saved. Not much hope to get them growing in spring. This year I'm going to give up my usual method of saving seeds and try a new technique for this autumn. Like this cosmos, I will be going around the garden and picking off entire stems from my annual plants, gathering them up and placing these in a dry location. And you can see all there on top there, all the seed heads, or mostly seed heads. So I'll put this in a dry spot and allow them to dry out on the plant. Here's a close-up of a cosmos seed head. So they will be away from any rain. All the moisture will be removed from these, and then I'll be able to put them into my little labelled paper bag for next spring. When I start picking the stems of these zinnias which have started to go to seed head, what was that? Oh, sorry, I think it was just a frog in this seed head. Okay, back to what I was saying. So when I start picking the stems, I have a few different colours here. A lot of them have faded and it's looking very messy. But once the seed heads go brown, it's hard to tell which one belongs to which plant. And I've grown a lot of different varieties of flowers. So what I'll be doing is I'll be putting a little label, tying a label around these while I hang them up to dry under the porch. That way I'll be able to tell the difference between each plant, otherwise it's just going to get really confusing. A few easy summer annual flowers would be sunflowers, marigolds, straw flowers, and of course what I just showed you there, zinnias. Now that's only a little tiny list, there are so many more, but it's just what comes to mind at the moment. Yesterday I was so surprised to find these purple carrots for sale at my local fruit and veg store. I've never seen them for sale before in the shops, so I just had to grab a bunch of them. Remember, I'm trying to grow these carrots in this bed, but mine are only tiny seedlings at the moment. And let's be honest, I'm dreaming if I think I can grow my carrots this big and straight. But you know what? I'll give it a go. So I'm thinking while I'm waiting for my carrots to grow, I'll practice a few recipes on these ones. The first use for these that comes to mind is certainly not healthy, but I reckon I am going to try making some purple carrot muffins because I'm really curious to see if they turn out purple, and I think my kids will enjoy them. Whoops. Let's do this. I started off by grating 3 of the carrots. The colour is gorgeous. At this stage, I was really hoping that the muffins would turn out purple, but really I had no idea. This is all a bit of an experiment, and I decided to use a basic muffin mix and then add the grated carrots in at the end. Surprisingly, the grated pieces were quite firm. I was expecting them to be more moist. I kind of wish I'd used the finer part of the grater. Next, I added some butter and sugar into a bowl and whisked that up until it changed to this pale yellow colour. I made a bit of a mistake with the next step. So this recipe requires 3 eggs, and what I ended up doing was putting the 3 eggs in at the same time, where I really should have just added 1 egg at a time, because what you find happens is what you see here. It kind of curdles a bit. Anyway, I kept on powering through, adding the flour, then adding the grated carrots. When I was combining all these ingredients, I noticed that the mix seemed a little bit dry, so all I did was I grabbed some milk and added in a few splashes, and that really helped loosen it up and create a more moist mixture. I was doing this recipe at night time and my brain just wasn't with it. I noticed that I was using a spatula to mix everything up, where a wooden spoon is much better, so I switched that over, and you can see there that I was able to power through it. And then all that was left to do was divide the mix into these muffin casings, and that was pretty much it. I popped it in the oven for about, I think it was 15 minutes at 170 degrees Celsius. They turned out really well. I don't think the camera does them justice. They do look really messy, and they have this funny kind of blue tone on top. Maybe looking a little bit like something you'd find out of the Smurfs movie. But anyway, the most exciting part was opening them up and seeing if they were purple. So wait for it. Here you go. There's a little bit of a clue. Oh, I was so happy. It was beautiful inside. It almost reminded me of the colour of blueberries. Really pretty and gorgeous. Now all that's left to do is the taste test. It's now the next day. I was really tired last night and I didn't get to record anything else, although I did get to try one of these. And I have to say that although it was delicious, I didn't really notice any taste difference from the addition of the purple carrots. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I don't know. I'll let you decide. But I guess what it does do is makes it a little bit more pretty with that beautiful purple colour in the centre. I think what I'm going to try next time is grating the carrots up a lot finer. I have a feeling if I do that and maybe even add a few more carrots, it may make the entire muffin purple. I don't know, a bit of an experiment. I'm no chef, as you can tell, but I do like trying out dishes in the kitchen, and this is definitely one that I'll give a go again. For today, I want to show you how I messed up this corn crop. It's a variety known as Baby. I did show you this patch about 3 weeks ago, but I had no idea that I missed my mark when it came to harvesting the corn. As far as growing these plants, they did well. They were lovely and healthy. I just didn't pick this corn on time. I left it too late. Let me explain. It's completely my fault because I didn't read the description carefully enough on the seed packet, which explains that this corn needs to be harvested before these silks appear, and not like with regular sweet corn where you allow the silks to appear, and then once they start browning off, that's when you know it's ready to pick. But in this case, I was supposed to be picking them a lot younger, just like the corn that you see here in this tin. This is what my harvest was supposed to look like, but I'll show you now what they look like at this stage when they have been on the plant for too long. Here's what I grew. You can see the little kernels have got too large. They're actually not very sweet at this stage, a bit tough, and you definitely can't just chop this whole entire thing up because the center is quite firm. I've learned my lesson. What I'll do is I'll give these a go again next year and hopefully I will be successful. I did a bit of plant shopping during the week. I always like to go after Mother's Day because I find a lot of these chrysanthemums are heavily discounted. They tend to be a very popular flower for sale here for Mother's Day, but once that date passes, the flowers, you know, they just fade off and no one really wants to buy them. So I buy them because I know what great value they are. Let me just check. I think I got these for $4. They were originally, I believe, 12, so that's quite a good discount. And all I have to do now is come in and chop off all of these old flowers, pop these plants in the ground, and this time next year in autumn or fall I'll have a lovely flush of flowers once again. And the great thing about chrysanthemums is that they are very easy to propagate as well. So I think it's great value. $12 for 3 plants, wonderful. I also got this one, different coloured flower. It's like a salmon pink colour. A little tip is check the height of these flowers if you are looking to buy any on discount. You can see this one reaches up to 1 meter, so they're wonderful for cut flowers, but there are quite a lot being sold that are, you know, a lot shorter than that, more suitable for pots. I tend to go for these ones because they will look better out in the garden beds, and as I said, I'll be able to cut them and make lovely garden posies in autumn time. I also picked up this yam bean plant. There's actually 3 in there for the price of 1. I believe it was about $4.50. Now the thing is to mention for any of you new gardeners, just because a garden centre sells a plant, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right time of year to be putting it out into your garden. You'll notice this happening a lot in early spring and late autumn. So in early spring you might see a whole load of tomato plants for sale, but you still haven't passed your last date of frost. So putting those tomato plants out in your area is a bit risky. You do take the chance that they could possibly die. And like here in this case, the yam bean, it thrives in a warm, sunny climate. And as you know, we are heading towards our first frost very soon. If I was to put this out into the ground, it would just die off. So what I'll be doing is I'll be popping them into some pots, keeping them in a sheltered area away from the frost over winter. And then once spring comes, I will put them out into one of the raised beds. Well guys, we have come to the end of this week's garden update. I just wanted to quickly show you the camellia flowers. They're beautiful, still plenty of buds on the plant. Maybe next week if I get a really big mass floral display, I will put that on the video. Well, until then, I hope you have a wonderful 7 days ahead of you. I'll see you again next Friday.